In 2007, Kristina Joksimovic was considered one of the most charming women in Switzerland when she participated in the Miss Switzerland pageant. But 17 years later, her name once again drew public attention, unfortunately this time for the most tragic of reasons. It all began with a call from the kindergarten attended by Kristina's children. To the great dismay, she did not show up to pick them up at the end of the day, which naturally greatly alarmed her parents due to their daughter's sudden disappearance. But her husband, it seemed, was not at all worried about this. Since less than 24 hours had passed since Kristina's disappearance, law enforcement refused to intervene. Then Kristina's father decided to act on his own and began searching the house. What he discovered was truly horrifying. Switzerland is one of the central mountainous countries of Europe. The country is full of lakes, villages, and high alpine peaks. It seems that there are more ski resorts and hiking trails here than inhabitants themselves. However, about 9 million people call this place home. The capital of the country is Bern, and the most populous city is Zurich. If you travel about an hour north of Bern or an hour west of Zurich. Then in the canton of Aargau there is a city located right on the border with France and Germany. It's the cozy Basel. It's an amazing place for walks with Gothic cathedrals, red sandstone buildings and the Rhine River flowing right through the city. Southwest of Basel lies the small commune of Reinach. And it was on the night of February 13, 2024 that a horrific discovery was made there, which shocked the entire city. It all started the day before, when the grandparents received a call from their granddaughter's kindergarten. Their daughter Kristina, a former model and successful businesswoman, did not pick up her children after classes. This was extremely strange, because she adored her kids and was always an extremely responsible mother. The situation seemed even more suspicious, since the children's father also did not answer the phone calls. After picking up the grandchildren from the kindergarten, the grandparents returned to the family estate, where they found Mark, but Kristina was not there. And the strangest thing was that Mark behaved absolutely carefree, as if nothing had happened. He said he didn't know where his wife was, and offered her father a drink. For several hours he acted as if everything was fine, and looked quite cheerful. He talked to Kristina's parents as if it was the most ordinary day, and then said goodbye to the children, wished them sweet dreams and put them to bed. But Kristina's father was not going to just leave and let everything be. He was extremely worried about his daughter's fate. Instead of just leaving the house and going home, he decided to thoroughly examine everything. The thing is, Kristina and Mark lived in a prestigious residence in Binningen. It was quite a spacious estate with many secret corners and nooks. So it took Kristina's father some time to inspect all the rooms, and then go outside. Eventually he went down to the laundry room, which was located in the basement of the house. This room was more like an isolated bunker, with thick concrete walls and steel doors that locked it. When he finally went inside, he noticed several large garbage bags lying in the corner of the room. From one of them, which horrified him, light hair was sticking out. Curiosity took over. Unfortunately, his daughter's head was in the bag. After opening the bag and realizing what had happened, he ran out of the house, screaming for help. Shortly after that, the police received a call from the father, who was desperately shouting that his daughter had been brutally murdered and dismembered. The police arrived at the scene some time later. From the very beginning it was obvious that Kristina Joksimovic was dead. And it also became clear that her husband was most likely guilty of her death. Kristina was an extraordinary person. who clearly stood out from the average person working from 9 to 5. Her career is one of the most interesting. Her path from one achievement to another is inspiring. Although Kristina was born and raised in Binningen, and spent most of her life in Bern, she had Serbian roots thanks to her parents. When Kristina grew up, in 2003 she won the Miss Northwestern Switzerland pageant. And in 2007 she became a finalist in the Miss Switzerland contest. In addition, she received other awards in this field. It is safe to say that she was the embodiment of classic beauty. But her talents were not limited to just that. Her potential was revealed even more after she finished her catwalk career. After completing her modeling path when she got a little older, Kristina started her own business. She taught other women to walk the runway for famous fashion shows and catwalk shows. In addition, she helped newcomers prepare for competitions and auditions. But even that was not enough for her, because she was a versatile person. In parallel, Kristina worked as an IT consultant at Google, while her own business was gradually growing. Her Instagram page called Catbucoach positioned her as a high-heel expert, motivator, businesswoman and mother. Kristina conducted personal training with clients, organized master classes on walking in high heels and was a brand ambassador who popularized confidence, femininity and a positive body image. On her website, she presented herself as a model, Google recruiter, Miss Schweizeria finalist, manager of the Miss Schweizeria contest and a runway coach. Among her clients were such well-known companies as Mercedes-Benz, HP and Philips. Overall, she transformed her modeling career into the path of a successful mentor, inspiring future generations of models. In addition, she helped contestants of Miss Schweizeria follow in her footsteps, and also taught business women to confidently step into professional life. In her personal life, Kristina was a strong woman who dedicated herself to supporting and inspiring other women. But in addition to her career as a model, entrepreneur, and consultant, Kristina was a loving wife and proud mom of 2 little daughters. Their names were Vera Kla, who was born in 2020, and Kira Sophie, who came into the world in 2021. Judging by the numerous photos on the web, it is obvious how much she adored her family. Kristina was a kind and friendly person, as kind-hearted as she was beautiful. Externally, Kristina gave the impression of a confident, intelligent, disciplined and incredibly devoted to her family woman. However, although many people had only positive emotions about Kristina, the same cannot be said about her husband. He also had friends, and Kristina loved him. But many of her close ones saw him as a hot-tempered, whimsical man. Mark Reibin is 41 years old. He is 3 years older than Kristina. He was a respected leader in the field of change management in the Basel area. And to a large extent this is thanks to his father, who actually provided him with the future of a millionaire and a lawyer. Before Mark became a change leader, he served as an officer in the Swiss Armed Forces. He studied at the University of St. Gallen, and then, according to rumors, continued his education at Stanford University. In addition, Mark also ran his own business related to lean and agile methodologies, as well as continuous improvement. On his LinkedIn page, Mark described himself as a goal-oriented entrepreneur. According to him, life is about people and their communication. Even judging by his posts on Twitter, Mark was an extremely boring person. His life seemed as boring as the corporate world game he was stuck in. One way or another, in 2017 Mark and Kristina got married. Their wedding was luxurious, held in a castle overlooking the hills and fields. After that, they had 2 charming daughters. From the outside, everything looked perfect. At least that's how it seemed on social media. On the internet you can find many pictures where they look madly in love. Picnics in the park, hugs on the floor, joint selfies at home and vacations abroad. It seemed that they had a perfect life, but behind closed doors everything was not so simple at all. Kristina's friends were extremely dissatisfied with Mark's behavior, especially in the last months before her death. One of her friends recalled that they had a crisis that lasted several months. The police were even called to their house after the situation escalated into violence. From the testimony of friends, it is known that Mark became obsessed with the children. He saw them as the perfect project, and Kristina, in his opinion, was only an obstacle. Mark considered himself better than everyone else, and this was especially evident on the children's birthdays. When he divided the guests into 2 camps, his family and her family, and they celebrated separately. But neither Kristina nor her family knew how dark Mark's side was. One of his ex-girlfriends informed the prosecutor that Mark had repeatedly subjected her to serious violence. And this lasted until April 2016, just before he met Kristina. Mark's ex-partner had already testified against him, recalling his horrific fits of rage. Once he ran over her foot with a car, and another time he threatened to throw her out of the car on the way home. He also allegedly grabbed her by the throat and forcefully pressed her against the wall. In the heat of arguments, Mark often lost control, which ended in beatings or attempts to strangle. And as it turned out, Kristina was not his first victim. Not knowing all this, Kristina continued to post wonderful photos on social media, being certain that Mark was the perfect husband who would never harm her. In old photos, she called him "my support" and proudly announced her second pregnancy. Just a few months before the tragedy, she shared a photo of her family with the caption, "My world." The irony is that it was Mark who destroyed this world. Now, despite the presumption of innocence that we must adhere to, the evidence and testimony against Mark speak for themselves. But what really happened to Kristina? Although the case has not yet been considered in court, we can share what is known at the moment. At first, Mark denied that he killed Kristina. He claimed that he found her in the laundry room, and in a panic, dismembered the body. However, realizing that the evidence against him was too convincing, he confessed to the murder, although he tried to justify himself by saying that he acted in self-defense. He insisted that Kristina allegedly attacked him with a knife. But forensic experts refuted this version. Based on the examination of her neck, it became clear that she was strangled. That was not all. The autopsy showed that Kristina was beheaded with a saw, knife and garden shears. Mark also dislocated her hip joints, and then completely dismembered the body. Moreover, it turned out that while dismembering the body, Mark was watching videos on YouTube from his iPhone. But he refuses to provide the password for access, which probably indicates that he is hiding something. The most terrible thing was that Mark cut out only one organ, Kristina's uterus, which made experts suggest that he might have a mental disorder. In addition, he ground some body parts in a powerful industrial blender. And he dissolved others in a chemical solution. Those parts of the body that were not subjected to these 2 gruesome methods had signs of blunt trauma inflicted before Kristina's death. Among them were cuts on the cheek, chin and nose, bruises on the leg and foot. And also on the shoulder blades and back of the head. On the head, traces were found that her hair had been torn out. Most of these horrible actions were committed in the laundry room. This was evidenced by the traces and material evidence found at the crime scene. Mark spent several hours over his wife's body before returning to his life as if nothing had happened. He even looked her father in the eye, drank with him and assured that Kristina would be back soon. Kristina's father was persistent and deeply concerned. After thoroughly searching the house, he came across his daughter's head, which is perhaps the worst of possible discoveries. In the interval between this gruesome discovery and the arrival of the police, Kristina's father confronted Mark, who seemed surprised that his secret was revealed so quickly. And although it sounds incredible, during the arrest, Mark still tried to convince Kristina's parents that they would see her again, which only emphasizes his complete lack of remorse and loss of touch with reality. What exactly prompted Mark to kill his wife remains a mystery. Without the participation of experts, one can only guess and make too many assumptions. Nevertheless, we have his confession, and we know from Kristina's friends that she was planning to divorce Mark. Perhaps this is what drove him to the brink of insanity. Strangely, after his arrest, Mark tried to get released from custody through the court, citing coercive measures in Basel. After being refused, he appealed to the cantonal court, where he was also denied. Finally, he filed an appeal with the federal court, but luck was not on his side there either. According to the results of the investigation, Mark seems to have signs of a mental disorder. In addition, experts note a high level of criminal energy, a complete lack of empathy and cold-bloodedness. His attempts to hide his wife's death, and then behave as if nothing had happened, in front of her father, indicate clear sadistic and sociopathic traits. One of his friends said that Mark felt no remorse at all. How crazy do you have to be to not show a single drop of emotion? Undoubtedly, Mark faces trial for the murder of Kristina. The only question is whether he will be found guilty and what sentence he will receive. In Switzerland, the death penalty is prohibited, but murder carries a minimum sentence of 10 years and up to life imprisonment. However, even life imprisonment provides for the possibility of parole after 15 years. So, unfortunately, there is a possibility that Mark will one day return to society. In addition, Kristina's family is now forced to fight for custody of her children. Her parents and sister have united to provide the girls with a safe and loving home. But Mark's sister also filed for custody, claiming that Kristina's parents are too old to take care of them. This has grown into a big legal battle in which Mark's sister is supported by their millionaire father and his lawyers. For Kristina's family, this is a very difficult fight. Mark's actions should deprive his family of any rights to the children. Kristina's children deserve to grow up in a home where they will not be distorted the truth about who their mother was and who she wanted to be. Besides, Kristina's family has already suffered too much pain and loss. Losing grandchildren after their daughter's death is too much. Kristina was a strong, self-confident and outstanding woman. She was always full of energy in new ideas, always supported friends and family, always listened. Despite her leadership energy, she was a caring and loving mother who completely dedicated herself to her children. Now these children will grow up without their amazing mom. 8 months after her death, their house is completely abandoned. The furniture may still be inside, but the house itself is dark and empty. Flowers lie in front of the door, and the stairs and sidewalk behind the house, where children's toys and a barbecue still remain, are overgrown with weeds. On Kristina's grave are flowers, a frame with her photograph, 2 crosses, small hearts made of stones and drawings by her daughters. It is obvious that she is sorely missed by many people. In one interview, Kristina's friend shared an important thought that relationships that seem perfect from the outside are not always so in reality. You need to be attentive not only to yourself, but also to those around you. Kristina's story, unfortunately, did not have a fair and bright ending, which such an amazing woman deserved. But no matter how tragic her fate was, her strength, love and dedication will live on in the memory of those who knew and loved her. In her loved ones, in the children who will grow up knowing about the incredible woman their mother was. Her story reminds us of the fragility of human life and the importance of fighting for truth, justice, and safety for those facing domestic violence. Because behind closed doors there can be hidden things that cannot be seen in beautiful photos or through smiling faces on social media pages. However, life goes on, and despite the terrible losses, Kristina's family is not giving up. In this world there are still people ready to fight for the light, for the truth and for the future of her children. Every story teaches us that love and strength can survive even the darkest of times. And despite Mark's attempts to destroy the life of his family, he could not break the spirit of Kristina, her family, and those who fight for her. This story is not over, because the future of her children is just beginning. And although it begins with pain and loss, they are surrounded by love and care from those who are ready to stand up for them to the end. And maybe years from now, when the girls grow up, they will learn the truth, but they will also remember that their mother was not only a victim, but also a symbol of strength, love and beauty that no cruel acts can erase from their lives. Let her name become a symbol that even in darkness, one can find light, the light of hope, struggle and memory. After all, the most important thing is not how her life ended, but how she lived it, leaving behind a legacy that will shine in the hearts of those who knew her. That's all for now. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Give this video a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any future content. Take care and goodbye.